Du hörst Herzenssache, Projektgeflüster mit Madamfo Ghana. Der Podcast, der dich nach Ghana mitnimmt. Christine und Bettina erzählen bewegende Geschichten, plaudern aus dem Nähkästchen und teilen persönliche Erfahrungen. Komm mit auf diese besondere Reise. Los geht's!
Hello and welcome to Herzenssache, the podcast of Madamfo Ghana. Today, again, I have a beautiful, beautiful guest, which I love to have in the show, and I know you all love it too. Our country director, Victor, is joining me today. Welcome, V.
Thank you.
This is so good to have you here because you have heard by now that you have a huge fan base and people really love to hear from you and your work because you are bringing so much real life into the show. When Christina and we are talking, of course, I'm also in Ghana and Christina has been here many times. Nevertheless, Director Victor is always on the field, controlling and supervising all our projects, all the teams. So when you come in with your stories and your expertise, people really, really like it.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
So V, last time I told you that we have started informing the audience, our sponsors, friends, families about our new project, the greenhouse.
Yes.
I made a very interesting podcast with Christina, and it was about the target group of the children's shelter. But I was thinking today, let's talk about farming. Farming in general, because in Germany, it's also a big topic. Everybody has to eat. Everybody has to drink. And I think farming in Ghana is something that is quite interesting. Even what are we farming? And to go more into the details and to explain to you guys, like, what are we doing in our farming program, and also informing our sponsors, because we have people who since many, many years are supporting this project, to just bring them to the latest update. V, you are Ghanaian, you are born and raised here. What is your earliest experience with farming, or in your personal life? Let's take it as a child, as a young boy. What was how did you come across farming?
Okay, farming in Ghana is totally different from other countries. Though I don't know much in the world, but I've been to Kenya, and then I also hear a lot about from you.
Yes.
Germany. I see that farming in Ghana is totally different. When I say difference, means in Ghana, we still do season farming. When I say season farming, is we plant and then we wait for a rain to fall on it before it will grow. There's no new technology that we can apply for the food to grow. So we are only waiting for rainwater. So in case it didn't rain, it means no food that year. So that's the system in Ghana. And I think in the developed countries like this greenhouse, we are trying to implement now. It doesn't matter. So far as you have a borehole, you can do your watering, and then you can plant, and then you get what you want. So my father was a farmer. And, in Ghana, I would say Ghana is divided into three: the middle belt, the southern side, and then the northern side.
All right. So where are you coming from? Where's your... I know it, but for the audience, so where are you coming from?
From the middle belt.
Okay.
I would say, that is Sunyani, Bono,
Bono region.
Bono
so guys,
region.
for everybody who is not aware, just check out the Ghana map. It's the middle belt. Look at the middle side of Ghana. Look for the region, Bono East, Ashanti region, that belt. That is what Uncle V is talking about.
Yes. In the northern side, it's more dry. That place is more dry. And it rains. The rains started around April, and then sometimes in November. So their system is also different. They farm only one season.
Okay.
A year.
So let's go back to your dad, because there's so much to talk about, you guys. I'm trying to direct us a bit. No, it's very interesting. You're going to get a lot of insight. So your farmer was a dad. Your dad was a farmer, or is a farmer in the Middle Belt.
Yes.
So what are they farming, or what were they farming? Let's go back to little Victor.
Okay.
Little Victor in primary school. So what was happening?
Yam. We farm yam and cassava, maize.
All right.
That's the common thing you get there. Yes. So all this world, when at those days, that time, our father, that's the olden days. Maybe the audience will not understand what I'm saying. There's no machines.
Yeah.
There's no chemical to help also to support in the farming.
Yeah.
So everything you have to use cutlass. So, those who knows cutlass. Yes.
So let's call it manual.
Yeah, manual. Yeah.
And cutlass, it's let me be as usually the transmitter between Ghana and Germany. So cutlass is like a long blade. We call it machete or machete. I don't know the exact English word, so please, everybody, forgive me. So it's a long, big knife. Let me call it that way.
Yes.
And you are talking about sole manpower.
Yes.
Your arms, your waist, your legs. That's all.
Yes. Yes. So because of that, you cannot do it in large quantity. So what you will do, we only farm to feed the family.
All right, so self-sustainability.
Yes.
So you, your family, and your closest relatives.
Yes. Yeah. So this is how
it was.
It was, yeah.
And just as on a side note, because of course I know your area, your family, everything very well. So you have told us about maize and cassava, for instance. I also know that in your area, you are expert in cashew nuts. So now let's not go into cashew farming, but just for me, I'm interested. Yeah. By then, you were not into cashew farming?
No, by that time, that was not implemented. The cashew farms came about 11 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, I don't want to disclose this age, but guys, you know how old I am, so we're almost the same age. So let's say you're talking about like 40 years ago.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay. So looking at by then, let's go to your family today.
Yeah.
How is the situation?
Those days, you mean those days?
Yeah. I want to compare. You have explained to us how it was when, let's say, you were in primary school.
Yeah.
So now let's go to today. Assuming we are coming to visit your family today. Yeah. How is the farming situation? What's happening?
Yeah. For now, everybody is into cashew farm. Those who have lands, in Ghana, people own lands. It's not by government.
Yeah, so let's go to the land issue later. Let's because that one we are going to explain to you how it even works to farm on the land. But let's talk about what is going on now.
Yes, so now people have cashew farms, and this cashew too is a seasonal thing. They harvest once a year.
Okay.
So now I'm talking now, it's becoming difficult to get even food in those areas.
Yeah.
Because the moment they finish harvesting, no money, and then there's no food because they don't have any other land to plant food.
Yeah. So to summarize it, it's like from growing, let's say, crops that are edible. Of course, cashew is also edible, but it's not a main source. Like maize is a main source. It can create a main meal. Yam, cassava, which are our local main crops we are relying on to have a sufficient meal. Yeah. They were attracted by the potential financial outcome of growing cashew.
Yes.
And they abandoned growing those other crops.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, there's only one season in the cashew. The maize and co, was it also only one season or it's 2 seasons?
It was two seasons. Yes.
So we came from 2 seasons growing edible food, let me say for daily use, to growing cashew because of the monetary aspect.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is a reality, and I think please correct me because you are our farming expert, but we can also relate this to the challenge we're having with cocoa.
Yeah.
Because that is also seasonal and it's also nothing you eat as a major meal, and people farm it because of the price they hope they will get when they are selling the cocoa, isn't it?
Yeah.
So looking at this development, that people are planting crops, let's say they are not for the major nutrition during the ordinary day.
Yeah.
What is your opinion about it? We understand their motive. Of course, everybody wants money to survive and make a living out of it. But when you make this sample, what is your observation?
Now all these areas, or maybe in Ghana, I'll talk about Ghana in general.
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn more, I would say, in agriculture, whereby maybe if you have a small plot or a small piece of land, you can use it to do something that you can harvest more.
Yeah.
Apart from that, the way everybody now is chasing money, thinking if I do this, I'll get more money from it. But the money will also come just once.
A year. So you have a bulk money.
You have a bulk money, but even at that time, you have already even spent the money before even it's coming, because you need to buy these agrochemicals. You have to spray. You have to weed under all these things. So before then, you have to borrow money from somewhere before you do that. So before you harvest, you have to go and pay the loan wherever you took it from. So we have to learn more from the agricultural system, I would say, from the agricultural side. So any small piece of land that you have, you can use it to grow things that will help you to live.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So in Ghana, we have a vast variety of lands under different circumstances, as you were saying. Yeah. So the coastal belt, because of the humidity from the ocean and also the different raining seasons, have a different growth period than the belt. You were talking about the middle belt. Yeah. We are also working in the north, maybe just to have a peek, a little insight in the north. Yeah. So in the northern side, if we are lucky, because I know everybody is tired about the word climate change, but definitely there is a change, because I'm in Ghana since 25 years. This is how long I call Ghana also my home. And I have witnessed and I'm observing changes. Of course, this will go over hundreds of years. And of course, I'm not a meteorologist and I'm not a scientist, but I have eyes and ears and I have common sense. Yes. And I see that the weathers are changing. And when we are interviewing and we are chatting with our old people, the ones that really like 80, 90, 100 years old, we have that people, they are holding the knowledge about farming, how it was when you talk to them. And let's go to the northern belt, because that is also why we started working there. Yeah. What are they telling you?
It's the same thing. Like I said, Ghana, the whole Ghana, everywhere, is the same thing. But the changes you are talking about, it have the positive side and then the negative side. The positive side, you are part of it. I would say Madamfo is part of the changing because of the trees we are planting in the northern side there. Before, the way it was raining, when you get close to the people over there, how it was raining before, these days is changing. Yeah. It's not raining more often like before. So sometimes if they are not even lucky, this season, one season that we are talking about, they won't even have it.
Because I remember when we started going to the north, we came there. This must be now like 15 years ago. And we came, and when we came, it hadn't rained for 3 years. Yeah. I remember it very well. Yeah. Guys, you cannot, unless you have experienced it, I can't even explain it. You enter the northern side, it hasn't rained. I remember it so well. We had our shea butter. We always travel with shea butter. Everybody who knows me knows I have a container with shea butter, which is a nut, the shea nut, and we get butter out of it to cream ourselves, our faces. My son, he's now 11. Literally, that child consists out of shea butter because I never used any sophisticated or fancy cream or anything. That child is top to down, is cream with shea butter. So this shea butter in the north, we are using it usually in the dry season, which is a regular season. That one is by nature. Between, let's say, October, November, going all the way to maybe April, May, where it doesn't rain. That is natural. And the plants over there, they are used to it.
Yeah.
And then it starts to rain around, let's say, approximately May, June, and then it's like heavily for like 3 months, and then it stops. Yeah. This is the one season Victor is talking about. So when we came there, it hadn't rained for 3 years. Everything is so dry and it's so hot that you come there, you get out, less than 24 hours, your nose is bleeding, your lips are bleeding because of the dryness. So that is why I'm referring to the shea butter. So we were creaming in order to to protect your skin. Let me put it that way. And the way the Sahara Desert is spreading, it's a contributing factor to what you were saying. And of course, all this, how the climate is changing locally and globally, it's something that we feel. We don't want to say, we are scientists, like I'm saying, but we feel it, we see it. And that is a huge, huge challenge for people who are living in the area.
Yeah.
Let's go to what we can do. We have tried to describe how the situation is and your experience. Yeah. So let's go to Madamfo Ghana. We have experienced, for instance, 3 years drought in the north when we came there the first time, or when we started regularly traveling to the northern side. So if you look on your map, look for Tamale, anything northern from Tamale, northern, northeast, northwest. Northeast is Bolga, northwest. You can look for Tumu, our favorite little town. So, guys, we can make a podcast about Tumu. That one we'll do the next time. Let me do a sneak peek. We had my dog by then, Michael, with us, and he was so tired of the driving that we had a cooking pot at the back, and he put his head into the cooking pot. Do you remember? There's a different time. We will talk about that maybe another time. So this is the northern side we are referring to. And at the same time, we also have a school feeding program, which we started long ago, almost 20 years or so ago. So in general, to not dive too much into school feeding and other things, in general, we are also into nutrition.
Yes.
How to get healthy, accessible, affordable food for people. And then you got the idea many years back that we should use our land we have in Kumasi. We have some land in Kumasi to do some farming. So let's go like 15 or 20 years back to that side. So we started farming. So what did we do on the land in Kumasi? What was your idea, our idea to do?
Yeah. So our idea was to have a small piece of land where we can plant cassava, plantain, maize to support our school feeding, and then our children's shelter in Ho. So we have this idea, and then we started this. Any small food that we have, we transport to Ho, and then also Lakeside where we were doing the school feeding.
Yeah. Let me just come in. Some of you who are listening now, you are the sponsors for this first program because the land was allocated. We were able, with our estimation, to tell you, like, if you want to sponsor 10 square meter, 20 square meters, how much roughly it will cost. And I think some of you are really doing this for a long time. You're always supporting our farming. And this is a very good moment for us to say thank you very, very much, because you have contributed massively to food security that we were able to do. on that piece of land. And then we were also growing and food became more expensive. So what was your next agenda?
So we decided to get a bigger land or vast land where we can do it so that we can plant more to harvest more.
Yeah.
So we decided we started looking for a land, and then luckily enough, we got a land in Volta region.
Yeah.
So we started farming there, and then that side we started getting more quantity, and then started sending back to our school feeding, and then also the children's home.
Yeah.
And it's really helping. Yes.
Maybe this where we have reached now in our talk.
Yeah.
Let's quickly ship in and make an excursion about land in Ghana.
Yeah.
So how land is owned and you are able to use it and do something on it.
Yeah.
Maybe, of course, it will also depend on the tribe because there are different ways. But in general, explain to us, V, for the people who don't know, who may feel, okay, we are asking the owner of this land to buy it. Explain to us how that works.
Yeah. Land issues in Ghana is in many ways like what you are saying. It depend on who is holding it. Some families own lands, and some also lands are also owned by the chiefs. Some also by government. So I will talk about the one that we are farming on.
Yeah.
Is owned by the chief in the community. So when we go, we sit with the chief, we talk to them that this is what we are doing. We are NGOs and already they know us because of the good work we are doing. They know us. So we talk to them, we need land, we want to farm because now food has becoming expensive. So we are looking for a way that we can balance things so that we can feed the children all the time. So we talk to the chief. Some agree if they have. Some agree. And some also, one will also tell you, oh, I'm not the owner of the land. So you go and talk to the family. If they are and agree, then you come to me. So some of the land, you have to rent it at a certain period. It depends on the agreement you have with the owner.
Mm-hmm.
You can rent it for 1 year, for 2 years, for 5 years. Depend on how the person wants this. So if we rent it, then we have to look for people that will help or support us to start growing the...
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is something that sounds easy, but it can be quite complicated because here things are not like done you have in mind, maybe like in Germany or in Europe or so. It's not like you sit down, you have somebody who come with a line and then from here to here. All this is like oral transmission.
Yeah.
You sit down and you talk about it. And one challenge always can be you have this arrangement with this chief and then that chief dies. When that chief dies, everything will start back, how we always say, back to square one. You have to restart all the negotiations if you're not lucky. They have left some information behind that people are aware because we are also known. But it can be a challenge. So looking at the type of and how you are doing it in Ghana, like you are saying, it's quite different. When we look at the land in Kumasi and then the additional lands we rented or we got, some in Volta region, some in Ashanti region, usually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we grow maize and then okra, peanuts. We are growing all kind of local crops that either we can immediately use to cook and eat or sometimes also sell. That will help us to sometimes provide, for instance, for the children's home, we need mattresses and we cannot do them out of maize. So we need some money to buy them. So it's something that was developing and is developing very nice. But there's one additional factor that maybe we have to quickly, 2 minutes, like talk about, and that is the way currently there is a major, for me, it's a catastrophe going on, that galamsey surface mining, illegal surface mining with chemicals that are not healthy. We are talking about lead. We are talking about chemicals they are using to get the gold out of the soil. Once this is done to a land, the land is poisoned. I want to say forever. Forever means like as long as I'm on this earth, and even my son, you cannot use it. And it's done in large quantities because, of course, we all know how the gold price is going. We know that people are simply also not responsible. As much as we have people, we also have people here are not responsible. That is human nature. People are greedy. People don't think about tomorrow. People don't think about their neighbor. It is what it is. And this has become really a challenge. It's in the news. It's out there. We have actually been advocating far, far longer than it's out there. Now it's in the news. We have spoken about it ever since I saw the first excavator in Ashanti region. I spoke about it. I tried to educate the people with, of course, all the help of our team, not me alone, that this is not good. It's dangerous, but sometimes it's very, very difficult to reach the heart and the mind of the people. And that is what I'm saying. Sometimes it just is what it is. So if we want to even buy now food, some food, when they test it from the authorities, you see it's not consumable. And there is much, much to be done about the education of the general public, that this is what is happening. And it will take time. Whilst day in and day out, the land is poisoned. So it's there. People are aware. And we have also, of course, thought about, for us personally, what to eat, where to buy, what to consume. It's something that is really, like it became a headache to us. And one solution, going back all the way, like now 20 minutes, 25 minutes to the beginning of the podcast, is what V was saying, greenhouses, where we have control over the environment. What are we planting? How are we planting it? What water are we using? And what crop are we growing? And this is something maybe getting to the end of this podcast, we can also quickly talk about. So when you heard about the idea of the greenhouses, we always develop stuff together. Sometimes I have an idea, I'll call Director V. Sometimes he has an idea, he will call me. So when we came up with that idea, what were you thinking about? Because it's not common. It is here. People are doing it. Some are doing it, but it's not the majority, and it's not very popular.
Common. It's not common here. When you told me about it, I do a small research, and I was, wow, how can this work? So until you sent me the pictures, and I saw the vegetables under the tent, I say, wow, then this will really help, because this can help to avoid all this galamsey, poison water areas. This one is pure, like organic. It's pure. So if we can get someone to support us or to sponsor, we are always begging, asking for people for support. We don't have it. We cannot do it alone. We need help. And any good thing also, the beginning or whatever it is also come out from something. You have to get something before you can start doing it. So if we can get someone to support us, why not? Because it's a good thing, and it can support, it can help the home, it can help the children, so it can help a lot. So I was really happy about it, and then I know it will work.
It will work, yes.
It will work.
So one person I definitely really would like to mention here is Farmer Ni. He's a farmer who does this greenhouse farming to, how can we say, top notch. And I personally have visited him and his farm many times. And I can use this podcast as an opportunity just to thank him, because he's our consultant, our advisor. He's helping us to gain knowledge about this greenhouse farming. And through his assistance and the knowledge transfer, we have now developed like 2 projects already. One is to put a greenhouse on the land of our children's shelter in Ho, which I've spoken about in the podcast with Christina as well. And to do it in a larger scale on the land in Kumasi. And these greenhouses will have hundreds of square meters. And we want to grow food that can be consumed directly, but we also grow and have the aim to grow food anti-seasonal, so that when everybody has tomatoes, we are not having tomatoes, we are having something else. But when there are no tomatoes anymore, then we can also grow them. And of course, there's the opportunity of many, many other crops, which I don't want to mention all of here. So we have a website. We are putting the link on the downside, and we have an info brochure about our farmhouse. We have a website, and I think everybody who is interested can please check it out. Send us an email to mail@madamfo-ghana.de. Let us know, follow us on social media, on Instagram. We are there, Madamfo Ghana. We are there on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn. Just follow us and let us know if you have any questions, concerns, you have ideas. Please feel free to reach out. So summarizing it, where have we gotten with this greenhouse? Where are we standing at the moment?
At the moment, we are working on the budget to see if we can get someone to support.
Yeah. I can add that I've got some seeds from Germany, from our friends from Menke. They have given us some seeds which we want to try, which are crops that are not really grown here. But like I'm saying, it would be good because I learned from Farmani that greenhouse is kind of golden space. Which means it's very, very valuable. So you cannot just plant anything in there. You need to make use most of it. So we will also grow vertical up. And we are trying to grow crops where there is a demand, but the quantity is not so easy to get. Maybe just one last thing. When we talk about greenhouses, guys, you don't have to have the idea about the greenhouses. For instance, we have in Germany or in the, let me call it the Northern Hemisphere. We use glass on the outside to keep the warmth inside. That is not what we are doing here. Maybe that is something let's quickly explain it to them. So the outside of the greenhouse, of course, there's the metal, which is the frame.
Yeah.
But what is outside? It's not glass.
Stands. We are putting tents on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the cloth that we are using to cover it is like a mesh. It's finer than mosquito net, so that the small insects can also not go inside and cause harm or damage your crops. And we've learned that the major advantage also of the greenhouse is the secure environment where the crops can grow inside. So you can grow it. And what is also something that I think we can mention is the way we do the irrigation, which is the dropping irrigation. We don't just waste water, because water too is a very, very, I'm lacking the word. It's a very, it's costly, precious. That is the word I was using. I was thinking it's a precious resource, water.
Yeah.
So usually, if I have tomatoes in my flower bed, I'll use the big watering can. But this one, we're using the drop-in irrigation. So instead of using 1 can for 1 tomato, this 1 can quantity can literally water half of the greenhouse. And this is something we are developing. We are in the stage to implement it. We have everything we need. We have the resources. We know where to get it. We are like on standby to have enough support to start the greenhouse. But as you know us, we are not always looking for the now, we're already looking for the future. So the greenhouse, maybe your last word to close the podcast. What is the potential for us, Madamfo Ghana? How do you see us going with it?
Oh, I see that Madamfo, when we get the funds, is coming to stay. And it will also stay and then help Madamfo, the children, the school feeding to stay.
Yeah. And potentially to grow.
Yes,
because the land we are having currently is big enough to even accommodate 16 of the greenhouses.
Yes.
So it's something that we are very proud of, because the environment to us, we go around a lot. We see a lot. We see the plastic pollution. We see the drought. We see that food is not everywhere available, and especially healthy food. So we are appealing to you to support us, reach out to us, and help us to make the world a better place. As simple as that. Yeah. Vi, thank you so much for being my guest today. It's always so nice talking to you. Do you have some last words for our audience?
Yes, I will appeal to you to continue supporting us for whatever we are doing. It can be the greenhouse, can be tree planting, you guys know what we are doing. Any angle that you will help, it will help everybody, and it will also save life. Thank you very much for watching us.
Thank you very much. See you next time, and hear you next time. Bye.